Welcome and thanks for coming by. Welcome to Zenful Conversations. My name is Zenjen Brown. I'm your host today, and today we're here with my friend, a very good friend of mine, Kim, who is a nurse, massage therapist, amateur writer, and amateur photographer. Many other things fall under that category, I am
Mhm.
sure. But thanks for coming by for some conversation today, Kim. I've been looking forward to this, and I really appreciate you coming by for some conversation.
Yeah.
How are you arriving today with your heart?
How am I arriving with my heart? Today is actually hopeful, which is
And
very
it's
strange for what's, the world, but that's how I feel
oh
today.
yeah,
Hmm.
this whole let me just shut this music down. This whole conversation of the world. Um, I think that is a huge basket of the depth is it's hard to even know where to start with all of that. I will say that that is why one of the reasons I felt called me to um deepen my practice overall is was to help me manage my emotions during these very incredibly challenging times. And I also believe that, vibrationally, the best thing I can do is help send out good vibrations in whatever way that means, whatever the way that means. But it's really challenging times, absolutely no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Um, but that's all part of this, in my opinion. This whole practice is about navigating life, and that's I don't know. I'm newer to this writing field, and I've just I've never been a writer. The only thing I've written have been informational articles. Like back when I was a real estate realtor, I would write different things for real estate for the newspapers or multiple times. I've written a lot for newspapers. Let's just back up. I've written a lot for newspapers, but they've all been informational. It's no, just
Hmm.
creative writing is new, and I've been just intuitively guided to this creative writing, probably about a year now, and have fallen in love with poetry without knowing what I'm doing
Hmm.
quite yet, quite yet. Um, so when you say you're an amateur writer, what exactly do you mean by that?
I say that because I've been writing I can remember being in high school and writing poems to kind of deal with life, high school life, back then. And that's how I dealt with getting things out. And then I kind of lost it for a number of years. I did a lot of reading, but not a lot of writing. And then kind of, when I met, you and the group and stuff in Florida and started to journal and started to, you know, write again and get in touch with that whole part of it. And then I kind of did, when I moved back to New York here, I kind of started to do offshoots of what I used to do back to, poems and started to, I second year now, I entered a poem like in a um they call it Poem Village, and it's everybody and anybody can write any kind of poem, and they paste them everywhere, all over all the stores and all that stuff. And so like the writing is just out there for everybody to see. And that the first year I did it was very scary. Um, but this year it was wonderful. And then I just started to take, some like amateur classes, just, you know, and a lot of those were just intuitive writing kind of things where you would, build on stuff and be able to like have a story at the end of it. And I was just like amazed, that that could actually happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so then I just kept doing that. And then I got involved with, doing Substack, which I've kind of stepped away from a little bit, just because I haven't had time. But that was also a whole new creative, being able to read other people's creative work, being able to put something out there and, not have the whole thing behind it where like doesn't really matter if somebody likes it or not. This is, what I need to say and I'm putting it out there. So it's just been kind of, yeah, that's why I say amateur, because there's really not any, beginning or end to it. Um, but that's just what I'm doing.
Um, the I find it very healing, and I've been surprised what comes out with these intuitive writings.
Mhm.
It's like, wow, where did that come from? It's pretty interesting. And I'm really doing my best because I've participated in a lot of these groups as well, and even holding some of my own. Um, but I'm doing my best to enjoy and allow myself to be this
Mhm.
beginner, even though I want to be good. I'm trying to allow myself just to enjoy this process, because I do. I want to be good. And I know with practice my voice will come, but right now I'm really allowing myself to be present in this experience of finding my voice on the page because once I mean, it's an evolving thing, right? It's an
Mhm.
evolving thing, and I want to just take it step by step without forcing myself to go too fast, anything like that. But I do want to produce something good. But I am surprised at what comes out. I'm like, wow. And then sometimes it does wrap up into a nice little bow. And it's like, how did you even start it when you don't even have a thought in your mind and you're just writing and writing, writing. But at the end matches the beginning. And it's like, oh, smack, holy smack. But also, I don't think most professional writers um sit down and write one draft and have
Mhm.
it be it. There's a lot of editing that goes on, um for the most part, although there's plenty of poets that do write out every single day their 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 poems and send it out into the world, which is a whole new level. Actually, I find this, I was gonna say, it's a whole new level of vulnerability, just sending
Yeah,
something out fresh like that. But
right.
this whole field is a whole new level of showing up for yourself.
Mhm.
What does
And
your
I have to
writing
know,
practice look like?
my writing practice is it like goes back and forth. Like I might be inspired by something that leads to, many hours of writing, where I can write, sometimes stories. Sometimes it's very, very short. Um, and I just write, poems. Sometimes it seems like it's, um, not finished, but it is. Um, but I just know that when I feel like I have to think about what I'm writing, I know it's not right.
Mm,
That's the only way I can describe it, is that if it's not, it's just like when it's free flowing, like when you're in that pocket or whatever, you know that it's right. It's when you're like concentrating, like, oh, well, maybe that's not the right word, or maybe like you're trying to edit as you're writing.
Mhm.
Then I know it's not right.
'Cause of the
Um,
thinking mind, yeah.
that's how I feel about it. But it seems like, yeah. So I write just whatever you know, usually, hopefully every day. Might mean something, might not. Um, but and it's really no trend of like what it's about or what it's um a lot of internal work that I those are more stories. Um, but
Right.
poems are more just like that I've seen something that inspired me or saw something that usually other people's writing inspires me to something, I get like an idea from reading somebody else's stuff.
And then that spurs a poem or
Mhm,
writing of your own?
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens. I've seen where you'll just put the poet and the reading that it spurred from. You just mentioned that at the beginning. I've seen that a few times. James
Mhm.
Cruz does that too. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Yes. He's one.
yeah.
Boy, he's wonderful.
Oh my goodness, he sure is.
But when you read it, you know that there's such an honesty about it. That's the thing. It's like you
Yeah.
have to get past all those layers of, and you're just saying what's absolutely honest. And at least that's what I relate to. I don't know
Yeah,
if
well,
everybody does. Yeah.
it's healing. It's healing. And
Mhm.
being that I know, I mean, you and I have done a lot of healing together.
Mhm.
And it's interesting too that we've both fallen into this writing a little bit deeper that as kind of the next step in a way. But yeah, this I feel like I've finally found my people,
Mm.
you know, because um the authenticity
Mhm.
and the vulnerability and just the generousness, if that's really a word.
Yeah.
um,
One of the
but yeah,
classes
I do.
one of the classes that I went to that was just like a nighttime thing. It was a couple hours and it was, people writing stuff and then you were able to get up and read it, and I read mine and I couldn't even tell you what it's about, but I knew that it was, just perfect the way that I wrote it. But then listening to other people read, yeah, it is just amazing that you all come in and everybody gets the same idea. Like they would give you maybe like a noun or they'd give you a subject or they'd give you whatever it is. And everybody's there and everybody gets that same information. And yet the stuff that comes out of it is from like A to Z,
It's wild, isn't it?
right?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
amazing.
it is. It's very interesting to me how we could all that's one of the things that I find fascinating is how everybody can be given the same prompt, whatever
Mhm.
it may be, and just how very different they are.
Mhm.
How and that I do find that very interesting as well. Uh yeah. Mine is still does not I can notice that I don't have the depth. Some people mine seems to be a little uh Snow Whitish, and the birds are
Mhm.
happy and everything, this and that.
Like
Um,
surface.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it just doesn't feel the depth. And um I think to myself, and some of these people are really writing through some traumatic stuff that they're working with through. And I think I'm not I've done a lot of working through. I do wish that I was doing this at the time to have used this to work through. I think I could have worked through a lot faster, a lot easier,
Mm,
understood myself a lot better. But it's nothing new for me to take the long way through things.
I hear you. Me
Um,
too. I mean, I used this, years ago and it helped me. And yet then I like just gave it up for years.
yeah, yeah, but so I'm like, I don't want to go back and rework through some of the stuff.
Hmm.
So I'm like, and it's not like I don't have anything to write about, but I do have other parts of me that I want to investigate. I don't want to keep going back because I do think I've truly worked through a lot, and I'm amazed by how much I've been able to work through uh on this transformation. But
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to this, and I absolutely have no doubt that eventually this beautiful voice inside me on the page will appear, and when she's ready, she's gonna blow my mind. I just know it. Well, there's a lot in there that
Absolutely.
I know that so I'm sure. I really am sure because I definitely know if I've learned anything through all of this, it's that if we keep showing up for ourselves, something
Hmm.
changes there.
And I
And I'm
feel
not
like
gonna stop showing up.
right. And I'm not going to say that I don't have like a thought or a dream or a wish to, you know, write a book. Other people have told me you should write a book. And I've been like, yeah, maybe I should write a book. But I have absolutely no idea, like no definitive idea what it would be about, what it would, you know what I mean? I think
Right.
that, yeah,
Well, when
maybe
they
like,
say that though, aren't they talking about a memoir type thing or
um,
a
no,
autobiography or
just
something?
right, just some kind of a book, because I'll write, you know, it's almost like I write some, not crime stuff, but like,
Mm.
some like a little bit like that, some of the stuff. Like I have quite an imagination, I
So
think.
fiction?
Yes. So I think
Uh-huh.
that is part of it. Could I write a book based on my life? Probably. Do I want to? Like you're saying. I don't know if I want to, you know, like you're saying. Go
Yeah,
back.
I don't have the desire to write a book, but also these desires of ours, they change and they
Change.
grow and
Right.
we change. We never know what will end up. Because I was thinking of that today. I'm like, could you have thought 5 years ago I'd be even tink tinkering with the idea of calling myself a poet?
Nope.
Which is another thing in itself too, because I'm like, I'm hesitant to call myself a poet. Because
Hmm.
I think that in a way it's disrespectful for these people that have spent, so much heart in their work to call themselves a poet. But um the spaces I'm hanging out in, um, they're saying that one, everybody's a poet. And two, that it's your heart's intention that is the poet.
Hmm.
And so they're like, call yourself a poet." Uh,
Oh, that's
you know,
interesting
s it is very interesting.
because
Yeah.
in my head also, that's why I say amateur writer because I'm like, I'm not a poet. But like, what am I? Who makes that line where this day you're an amateur writer and the next day you're a poet? What, when you actually like publish something? You know,
Right, right.
I don't believe
Um,
that.
yeah, so there is that, but I just don't wanna be disrespectful to anybody, quite honestly, that's the real reason. I don't think I mind giving myself labels, but, um I don't wanna be disrespectful with the whole thing. Are you familiar with this? I got this book. Are you familiar with Maggie Smith?
No.
I found this was an interesting book. It's a new book. I think it's a new one of hers. Let's see here. There's
Who is she? What about her?
2025. Um well, this is just she's an author, and she talks a lot. What I really like about this particular book is the way it's set up. It's writing habits, dear
Mm,
writer. So it's writing habits, it's pep talks and practical advice for the creative life. And what I think is pretty cool about this is it has the way it's written as sections. And like the first one is a section on attention.
mm.
So like, so would you classify, or what would your, how would you connect attention to your writing? When you put those two words together, what does that mean? Attention. And
So
then on
attention,
writing,
like ATT,
yeah,
attention,
attention.
attention. I think I think it's just being present.
Yeah, right. Well, that's even what she says there, because like on the attention, when I say that attention is a form of love, I'm just taking an excerpt here. I'm
Oh,
also saying that is attention is about devotion and commitment. Paying attention is a metaphor in itself. Attention a form of currency we pay to things that we value.
oh,
We pay with our time, our energy, ourselves. Any artistic practice requires this kind of investment.
hmm.
So, but in this so many of on inspiration. To me, this is what an idea feels like when it arrives. It taps lightly. Hello? It could be anything, a line, a metaphor, a memory that wants to be freed of itself. And is that to me, like, I can only equate this because have not really allowed myself enough quiet time to, quite frankly,
Mm,
um, produce that well. I take these 1 2 hour 3 hour workshops,
mhm.
and that's where I do most of my writing. I'm now creating a time slot, which that to me, that creating the time slot is the first thing to do. And it took me a long time to do my first thing.
Yeah.
But if I create the time slot, then I can always lengthen the time slot, etc. Um, but yeah, so the only thing I could actually equate it to at this point in time is my workshops and stuff like that. And I was gonna ask you is, so like it said there, let's see, in the inspiration, it feels like a small tapping. Um, it could be anything, a line, a metaphor, a memory that wants to be freed of itself.
Mhm,
Usually, like when I'm cleaning the house or something like that, something will come in, a little thread.
mhm.
And then that is what, if I give myself a few minutes there, I can download a whole bunch of stuff. This is usually what happens, that I'll download the whole workshop or day retreat or something like that.
So do you
And then I just
stop
got to fill in
and
the
like,
details.
yeah, do you stop right then when you get that? Yeah.
I need to, because otherwise it'll be gone, and I imagine, it'd come back, but I do think that, um, well, even I think Ram Dass called it holy inspiration, that it's a divine thing there. We got to act on these intuitive hits is really what I see it as an intuitive hit. Um,
Mine is when I'm going to sleep or when I'm waking up. I can see, you know, quite a number of things that, have to do with whatever. But yes, I've had, just like a sentence or like a person or it's really weird how it happens, but that must be when my mind is, settling down or I'm actually listening to it and there's not all that other
Yeah.
stuff going on that I'll actually get something and I'll have to write it down. So
Yeah.
when I'm going to bed or because I'm a late writer, like before bed.
Mhm.
What about you? Are you early? No time?
I have not really set aside. I would say that it's going to be in the evening before I go to bed when I've finished all the stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Closing up the kitchen.
Yep.
All right, you can go to bed. I'm gonna be in my little egg chair for I love
Yep.
this chair. It's my little spot. And then I've got Poetry Poodle. Did you recognize Poetry Poodle?
Oh.
It's Poetry Poodle.
Oh.
He loves hanging out here. So yeah, I figure I'm gonna do that at that time slot. That's the time slot that I uh am gonna make a committing to right now.
For nighttime?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but that's not the intuitive hit. So this would be a more formatted, scheduled practice. But I still think no matter what, it'll all aid in,
Mhm.
because the more we practice, you got to practice. We got to practice.
And I don't know if you feel like that from taking, like, workshops and stuff like I have, but I feel like the more I'm in it, like, if it's a day after day kind of thing, the more that I get. And then
Yeah.
if I
Well,
leave
that's the
it
way it
yeah,
goes. That's the way our
yeah,
minds work, right? That's the way our minds work. And yeah, you go in one direction or another, and the more we feed
mhm.
it. Um, where was I going to go with that? I forget exactly what I was going to say there. Mm, don't recall, but I think it's definitely fascinating. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say the language, the words. I'm not that fluent with words, and that's what I'm like. Wow.
Right, and that's what I notice, um, the more I do it, the better I think that gets, um, but, like, yes, if it's been a while and I haven't, like, written something, I feel like I'm more concentrating on, like, what's the perfect word? Like, trying to
Mm.
edit it before I even get it on the page. The idea, when you
They
think
say
about
you
it.
could sit down with a thesaurus or something like that too,
Mm,
and be able to expand on
that's why I try to just do the idea
language.
and then go back and mess around with the words.
Okay. So that's the editing process then,
Mhm,
right?
right.
I'm
Yeah, 'cause that
actually
takes me a
taking a
bit.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably jumping ahead by taking a course, but Maya Stein, do you know who Maya Stein is?
Nope.
Oh my gosh, she's a fun. She is a deep thinker. She's a very deep thinker. And she has done, some of these people have had such incredible experiences. Phyllis Koldai comes to mind also. I'm hoping I can get conversations with both of them because they're just like some fascinating stories in their life. But Maya Stein is having a revision workshop, and I think it's a couple
Wow.
sessions. Uh, it's a couple sessions, and she's actually going to share her revision process. And so I'm like, well, I don't even really have anything to revise, but I love putting myself in in situations where everybody knows more than me. Um, but I know I'm gonna learn a lot about it
Right.
through that and probably likely have something at the end. Um, but yeah, so there's like it's different than just because I just think I expected it to be you magically boop, plop something on the page. But I think there's a lot to the revision
Yeah,
process.
like many, 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 many revisions.
And then how do you ever call something done?
Right. That's why when I write something and you've just written it, sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's good. But you could probably spend, a lot of time on it.
Endless.
Yeah. Like
One word
James Cruz,
tweak.
he talked about that, I believe. I think I remember him saying about that, about revising and um yeah, that's like I think the major portion of it. And as long as
Yeah.
you don't lose the original idea with all the revisions.
Wow, what an interesting this is just such an interesting turn. I did not, I just did not. I mean, I've never really, the only thing I've done is the writing at the workshops and the
Mhm.
retreats that I've held. I've never even journaling, I'm a list maker.
Mm,
I'm a list maker. But even journaling, I've never really, other than my other than specific instructions, I've never really just journaled on my own. I did not have that little diary with the key, lock and key. I did not have
no?
that. I was
Mhm.
outside with my tree. I was a tree climbing girl. I was not a writer.
Mm.
Sensory detail is another one. Um,
That's where I feel like I can do that. I feel like I can get into, or feel like I can express how, somebody feels or something like that in my writing. I feel like that's probably the best part of it. I never thought about that, but I
about
do.
that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
challenging. It's challenging. What seems to come up for me is a lot of dialogue. Either me with somebody um, that's passed, or me with me.
Oh,
Me,
interesting.
I call myself out a lot.
Oh,
Like I'll say da da da. This is that. Don't you? What Don't you think? Isn't it about damn time you paid attention to this? Kind of thing. And it's like, hey, whose side are you on anyway?
and I'm more,
um,
the old woman that was sitting on the bench waiting for the bus, um, smelled like Fritos. And,
yeah,
I'm more like that, where
but
I'm
that's more
more,
poetic.
yeah, more descriptive, like getting into like describing characters. Um, I feel like that's, you know, my strength.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll find it. Wonder. Do you think does wonder enter your a metaphor? I mean, that's why I like this book, and I'm gonna be eventually probably going
Wonder.
over little sections, but wonder.
Is that like curiosity kind of?
Wonder. I just took the other day an offering by James Cruz and I can't remember who else. They did a combo thing, but I can't remember who he did it with. But it was about wonder. And it's like, and then they say just write something on wonder. And I'm like,
Yeah, but what is wonder?
I feel like, where the hell is my creativity? And but what, yeah, I know how detached or far away from this
Right.
am I, you know? Um, and then so I talked about actually I was rather surprised to see that lot I'm pretty sad about the closure of Heartwood, much more than I thought I would be. Especially since I did I did everything I could possibly do there.
Hmm.
Hmm. And I even had workshop, day retreat.
Right.
with ceremonial say goodbye to Heartwood kind
Right.
of thing and all that stuff, but it's still, I didn't realize I was gonna be mourning the loss. I thought I did it right and I wouldn't be, but I am. So, I schedule an event at Prana Yoga because they're close to the house here. And, um, so I wrote about that in this wonder assignment that we had. And
But what about that was the wonder?
he talked about that. He said the wonder in that was the excitement of the wonder in people or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but um the wonder in anticipation of.
Hmm.
So there's wonder in anticipation
Okay.
too, you know, because I do expect this will feel good and I'll get to make the personal
Oh, okay.
connection um and I'm excited. It's gonna be She Let Go, just a different revised version. And uh
So you
yeah,
did
so
revise something.
well, yeah. For the workshop, oh my gosh, I revised those 20,000 times over.
Yeah.
The details that go into that are like a little bit crazy. So this has me maybe a little bit concerned about this revision category
Hmm.
because I think you could get really hung up on it. Oddly enough, strangely enough, um, my ex-husband was a writer, and I did not give him credit for being as intelligent as he probably was, because I think
Hmm.
this is a very deep thinking space.
Hmm.
And I do know he was very good at it, at writing both song material and stories. Um, but I remember him working with a paragraph, like I'm like, oh my God, just write the darn paragraph.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you get, and he was like, well, is this word, this way, and it's like, and I can see that you could really get
Hmm.
stumbled up there. Um, so when you submit something, when you first submitted something, how did that feel?
It just felt like I had to, I felt like it was, I guess like, putting a kid out into the world or something. Like it was like, here's here's what I got. Here's, the
And
best
you were
word.
satisfied with it, I suppose, right? When
Yep.
you submitted it,
Yeah, it just
after you
felt
sent it
right.
out, did you not think that, oh, I should have changed that, or that would have been better if I'd used that word after it was gone?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Nope. I was just
Mm.
very no, it just seemed complete. And that's how it is with, some of the stuff that they seem like it's a thought and then it's completed and on to the next thing.
So you write in different genres though, right?
Hmm.
Like, so you're all, yeah. Hmm.
Yep. Whatever um, I do this thing on, it's like once a month here. It's a creative writing thing. Um, and there's like this box of cards and you pick, like what I said, like a subject and a situation. And then you write a story based on that. And then you read them to each other and stuff like that. And my mind just, it's incredible. Some of those things that I'll pick up, it'll be things that just happened, like little bits and pieces. Some of it will be like way back, in my mind, but it's just amazing how like creative. I mean, you should try that. Just pick a place, a person,
Yeah.
um, a subject, something like that, like a mailman and um, you know, some kind of, and then you just write a story. And
Yeah.
it's very, there's like no, because you're not thinking of the main things, I think is why it's easier, because they're giving you the subject and they're giving you the, the place.
Right.
And
You
then
know
it's
what's
just
going on? I'm
all
here at my mind, this crazy mind of ours. My mind is saying, what is the real value in that? Because
creativity.
yeah, well, it's all one. It's all one, and here's my mind trying to separate this stuff because I'm like having this conversation. I'm trying to listen to you, and all of a sudden it's got, but wait a minute, aren't you doing this for healing? Healing means working with all this stuff that's already there. Why are you giving yourself some concrete things to work with? But I would imagine that it will all work together and
I
weave, the
think so.
healing will weave through in that.
Hmm.
And that's really the only way to step forward on the path, not get better, but step forward.
I think it's good, to investigate, like in these, you know, some of the stuff that I write, I'm like, where did that come from? Like, I wasn't thinking about that. I never would write about that, which has actually helped, steer my reading as well, because I used to be always,
Mm,
self-help and,
right.
like a certain subject. And now, I've gotten involved in these other things where you go and, it's like a book club and it's somebody else picking the book and you have to, that whole thing. And I just find that some of the books, I'm like, I never would have picked this off the shelf, but then I did and then I liked it. So
Huh. How does your writing practice help you in your life? What do you see to be in the most um benefit there, I guess?
I think it lets me be creative where I'm not creative in other areas. I really do. I think that is my thing. It's like a separate world in
Mm.
my head.
And you have a Substack too, so you do photography on the as well as writing in your Substack?
Yeah, when I was playing around with the Substack, I mean, I've always taken pictures and I've had people say, you should frame those, you should sell those, you should, whatever. And I never gave it, two thoughts, but I just started to write stuff and I would attach a picture to it. And whether or not the picture had something to do with it or not, you know, I would just attach a picture because I thought it was, getting it out there. And now I actually entered, I just did that for a calendar. I entered a couple of my photos. So I'm just kind of, you
That's
know,
fantastic. That's
yeah.
really fantastic. When was the first time you actually submitted or sent something out um in the writing world? When
Last
was
year I did a poem.
that was the first time you actually submitted something out? What
Yep.
made you decide to go for it?
I have no idea. I read about it and I thought, I used to write poetry. I think I'm going to do that. And I just did it. And then I was just kept doing stuff after that. It was just a kind of like a saying yes to whatever, whatever I wanted to
Right.
do that was, creative that, um, and now I'm thinking I want to take, photography class. I want to take, that kind, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like finding
Well,
its way.
again, back to the times that we're living in, I think that this kind of stuff, this creativity is so vital to help move the energy through our bodies
Right.
and understand life a little bit more and help our perception. So I just definitely
Mhm.
think that it's huge of importance um, to do during these times. So you would say you found your voice. You have your voice.
I don't think I
Uh,
have my voice, like, I think my voice is all over the place.
yeah.
I really don't feel like I can't say, I only write this, and I only, like, I don't. I'm just kinda just dipping into everything and still checking everything out.
So you write poetry and you write short stories and
Mhm.
essays and all different kinds of things. That's just amazing to me. That's awesome.
Yeah, whatever comes up. Yep.
Mm.
So, I don't know if it'll even, be anything, but that's what I'm doing, and I
Have you
like it.
practiced yeah, that's really cool. Have you practiced I know you recently moved to New York and
Mhm.
you weren't able to transfer your massage license or something like that, but have you
Mhm.
so you haven't done any massages haven't for a
No.
while?
So
Because I
that
would
used to
imagine
be
that's something.
yeah,
Yeah.
that used to be my, creative outlet, and I think it's flipped too, so maybe there was a reason why I couldn't, you know, because
Right,
then all
sure.
this other stuff, um, yeah, opened up,
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. Huh.
so maybe it was meant to be that way, I don't know, but
Do you play any musical instruments?
I don't. When I grew up, I played the flute, but and I played it all through high school. I played it after high school for a little bit, but that was it. And um, yeah, I do, improv, which is another kind of,
Right.
and that's kind of, physical movement with creativity, and that actually helped also, I think, with helping me to write because it's very you have to be present and it's very on the fly kind of stuff. So I think that helped me to be able to get stuff out there for writing.
Yeah, so this is really all, like all of it is okay, push all this other stuff out of the way, get present
Hmm.
with writing, whatever it is, guitar playing, whatever the creative project is. It's
Hmm.
about being present, really,
I think so. Hmm.
because we got to push the mind. Because I don't know. I mean, like most of us, and honestly, that's the main conversation in yoga is this
And yoga, yeah.
the
So,
mind, the monkey mind is what they call it. So, yeah, um,
so those are the places where I feel that creative and that presence. I feel it with improv, yoga, massage, writing.
mm,
Those are all, like in the flow kind of feelings where you're
mm.
not thinking with like your higher, you know, brain. That's the only way I can
Yeah,
describe it.
well, yeah, it's more of the intuitive
Hmm.
sheath layer. When do you think you would change from or remove the word amateur from
I
your
don't
writer?
know because I never even thought of that until you said that. I think I just, figured I was like, yeah, that sounds good. Um, I don't know. I don't know what that would take to like I mean technically I've put stuff out there, so technically I could be a poet. I just never thought of that.
Yeah. Liesl Graham calls herself a storyteller.
I like that too.
I thought, well, that
I think
sounds a
I
little
like that
bit
better than poet.
easier to use.
Yeah, I like that better than poet.
Well, I love the word poet. I just my perception of poet
Right.
before I'm entering this field is somebody that sees softness and beauty in everything. You know, a poet is a very seeing the world. with these rose-colored glasses, just such a
Graceful. Yeah.
softer, yeah, so
Yeah.
soft and yeah,
Yes.
so I do want to be one because I think that's cool.
Yes.
Uh, so you know how I do. Um, I have no desire to write a book, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had one day.
Right. See, that's how I feel. It's like, yeah, like I really don't want to do it now, but never say never, you know?
Well, you just never know. It's all about the
That's right.
energy of the universe too, and
Yep.
rolling with the changes there.
That's what
Um,
I'm doing.
yeah, cool. So let's see what else. What would you like to say in this conversation? What do you think is important to mention?
I
And
just,
I just want to give these are to me more intimate conversations
mhm.
and much more lax. And I'd like to just give all of us,
Oh,
anybody that
great.
stumbles across these, across these conversations, and for you, and for me, the guest, whoever, all of us, um, to just get lots of different perspectives and maybe feel things on different levels. And I just want to get everybody's thoughts on it all. What's important about any of this?
What's important to me about the stuff that I write is that, or the stuff that anything that I do, pictures, whatever, is I want someone to feel something.
Hmm.
That's my, if I had a goal, I guess it would be I want somebody to feel something. And I think what I want them to feel is what I feel,
Hmm.
which is where I think that part, that's how you personalize. And that's why everybody's different. So I think it's a way of
Right.
communicating, whether it be, music or pictures or writing, or it's you saying, here I am and here you are. And do you accept me? I really think that's what it is.
Yeah, so vulnerable. I love it. Um, One more question because it intrigues me that you just decided last year to actually submit
I know,
something.
right?
So, yeah, and you don't quite know what made you say, I want to submit it, which is okay. But what would you say to somebody who is terrified of submitting?
I think what helped me do it was that, it's called Poem Village and there's many, many people. So I think because I was in the masses, I think I felt that I wouldn't be so singled out. It wasn't like there were 5 people, you know? So I think
Mhm.
that gave me a little bit of bravery. Um, Definitely. I think that's what it was, but now since then, that was the first time, but since then, now I just think that, I've accepted, this is me, this is what I'm giving you, whoever whoever you are, I hope you feel something. And yeah, that's, so if somebody's afraid, I would, what do you got to lose?
Mhm. How long did you work on the piece before you submitted it?
Not long. Nope. It was
You were
very it was very simple. And actually the one I did this year was very simple. It was kind of, because of all the what's going on in the world and all that stuff, I actually wrote it about a flag. I described a flag, um, but you didn't know it was a flag until the end. But
Mhm.
that didn't take me long. yeah, I don't, it just, you know, came to me and I
A-
just put it down
And
and I
when
didn't
you
really
sent it
play with
out,
it.
was
Yeah.
it was exciting, I guess, when you sent it out? Were you excited?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I felt good about it. And I actually like last year I was able to find mine and I haven't been able to find it this year, but they go to so many places. Um, but yeah, that first time where I saw it actually, you know, I wrote that with my name on it and it was just you know, it was a good
Yeah.
feeling.
That was something with the conversation we had with Gloria Heffernan a couple weeks back or whenever that was. She was
Yeah,
talking about that once you send it out.
right.
Because that's one of the things that concern me is sending it out. Well, first of all, I think when I send it out, I'm like, I would think the next day, like, oh, I should have said it this way. I'm always revising myself.
Yeah,
Could have done it this way, could have done that. But when you send it out about it, the intention that is in my heart when I send it out being misinterpreted or whatever. And she was just talking about how it's you're sending it out and
I
then
did. Yeah.
it's going to be its own life of its own.
Right. Yeah, I never even thought about my only intention was I hope somebody feels something from this the way I did.
Ah,
And I never even thought about, oh, I hope they don't, think this or I hope they think this or because I think like it was then it's out of my hands. Then it's however you interpret it is, that's yours.
yeah. And something else she said that makes sense, that made sense to me because I am a former people pleaser and do have to
Yeah.
keep an eye on that very much so. But she said just sometimes your words could make people angry. And I was thinking, oh, well, that's a real possibility that that could be an important factor there, that I just don't want to make people angry. And so I have yet to get past the birds
Right.
and the trees and all of this to go that
Hmm.
depth, but uh all stuff to take into consideration and one of the ladies when I first started getting going to these little groups,
Yeah.
she said, Jen, if you're just getting into the poetry, welcome to the rabbit holes. And I think that was
Yeah.
that was Carrot Hoffman. So I'm like, I see what she means now.
Hmm.
I see what she means now. Um, yeah, I don't want to keep you too long here. What's anything you want to say?
Um, no. Trying to think of, let me see if I,
Or do you have something that you'd like to read?
yeah, I'm looking. Um,
Yeah, these conversations are not pre-planned and there's no script to follow. And I really love that about them.
yeah. All right, here's my submission, my poem from this year.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Um, Poem title. Okay. Two primary colors with streaks of white, geometric shapes, part of a galaxy, all stitched together with love, a sign of victory, strength, hope, and bravery, worshipped, destroyed, and put on display, burned, buried, hoisted high in the sky, and embellished, representing everyone, challenged daily, and a calendar day to celebrate. America's historic treasure.
Wow, that is powerful. So you don't know where that's been published or if or anything.
Um, Well, it was put through, so it's through the Adirondack Center for Writing, um, in the poem Village. But
That's great, That's a great poem.
I thought it would, yeah. I mean, I didn't even really, it just comes and
That's
goes like I
awesome.
did. Yeah. Let me find one more thing.
Yeah, because Sapphire Rose, poet Sapphire Rose, she had that poem, She Let Go, and she said that went viral virtually, and she didn't even know it.
Wow.
And people were like, "Hey, did you know your poem's like making all this waves?" And she's like, "No, I had no idea." So, that's the life of its own that it takes on once it goes out there after you submit it.
Here's one of my little short story things.
Oh, okay, great, wonderful.
I thought that you loved me. Danny read the monologue aloud in the car. He was looking for just the right balance between anger and despair. He was auditioning for a spot in UCLA's theater company. The character mirrored Danny, and the scene was with a father. He was having difficulty because his father disappeared in 1990 when Danny was 15 years old. His mom would never talk about him or why the investigation stopped, leaving him as a cold case. Writing soothed Danny to sleep many nights. He was determined to find a happy ending somehow. He would write for hours on top of his full caseload as a theater major at UCLA. Paul, I need you to wish me luck, Danny said. Paul was busy stacking pallets at his job at the local grocery store. Sure, love, what for? Paul said. I'll give you more details soon, but just cross your fingers for me, for us. Soon we might have the apartment we dreamed about without my mom constantly being in our business. Danny grabbed the cash that he stashed in the floorboard of his bedroom closet. The sun was just setting, and his mom was at work. He started to walk to get to the bus depot. The bus station was in a bad part of town, and his bike had a flat tire. The snow would have made riding a bike impossible anyway. He double stepped it just to keep warm. Danny waited for the 10:45 bus on the bench with a woman who smelled like Fritos. She was talking to herself and had a huge, overflowing shopping cart. Funny, the Fritos smell made Danny realize that he never ate dinner. The bus was packed, and it wasn't the usual driver, Fred. I always feel better when I can call someone by their name. Everyone deserves to be seen in this world, Danny thought to himself. We pulled up to the Sunset Playhouse, and only a few passengers exited, including myself. Now I was nervous as I added my name to the list of the evening performances. Paul started his walk home after work. He was a big guy compared to Danny and bulky. No one ever gave us any trouble when we were out together. Paul always cut through Jenkins Woods because it was a clear shot to his doorstep. He heard a rustle in the bushes and then someone saying, Hey, you. Paul looked around and said, Come on out. I'm not in the mood for games. Next, Paul felt a chop to the neck as someone placed something over his head. Everything went black. Paul lay in the dirt with his UCLA jacket mangled with dirt and blood, his lifeless body under a pine tree. Fresh snow was falling. He looked like he was sleeping. It was Danny's turn to perform. Sweat lined his forehead and palms. Lights were shining bright on his face. He gave the performance of his young life. He spoke of his father's disappearance 4 years earlier and how it remains unsolved. His anger and sadness weaved into his words. He needed to pause when his voice would crack and tears would fall. In the corner of the Sunset Playhouse, a man sat alone at a table with a small light illuminating a gin and tonic and a handkerchief. He quivered with grief and excitement as he saw his son perform, and tears fell down his face. If Danny only knew why he had to leave, if Danny only knew that while he gave the performance of his life, that his lover Paul's life had been snuffed out. If they both only knew that Tish, his mother, was behind both of these events.
Mm, how fun.
So
How interesting.
that was a writing where they gave a subject and a place.
How interesting is that?
Weird, right?
It is. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Hey, thank you so much for putting yourself out here like this and in this conversation without
Sure.
having really anything to go off of. Um, and I do hope you want to do it again sometime. Um, and just keep the conversation going as part of our growth process and maybe understanding our path a little bit more or just even just understanding ourselves a little bit more because overall I get it's all to me a conversation with ourselves, still.
Hmm.
It's all about our relationship with ourselves still, which has been that because we've had this community now we're in our seventh year of these Zenful conversations, which is amazing to me. So I appreciate you stepping out with me on faith into this new intimate conversation section and kicking it
Absolutely. My
off. So
pleasure.
thanks so much for kicking it off like that. Kim, always a pleasure and so great to see you.
You too.
And yeah, and deep gratitude. So I want to just mention to everybody that if you're up for a conversation, please let me know. I do think that we all have something valuable to share. And please visit zenfulconversations.com to find out more about our offerings. And Kim is one of our wonderful sponsors that allows us to offer these things free of charge. And we definitely appreciate that, Kim. Thank you so much. So zenfulconversations.com, and we'll see you next time. In gratitude, namaste.
Namaste.